Hello, everybody. Welcome to Simulation Talk 355. The stage on Discord is already open. We'll wait a few moments for everybody to arrive. Today, once again, is a surprise live. I haven't been announcing it in I think a week or two. Schedule is a little bit too chaotic, so it's how it has to be for now. What up, Pirate, I guess? User 486. What up, Fungi Focus? Good to see you. Wait a few more minutes for everybody to arrive. Hello, everybody who is coming. What up, Maverick Star? You've been a regular in the. I know that you've been with us for a long time, but recently you've been showing up every day that I've been on. Falcon Lover, how are you? LF Tune 8 Tune My, I guess. This is a record. This is a record. 3 days in a row. Beautiful. I do appreciate that. Bilal Rajput. Hello. Golden Crystals in the house. Robert. Drunken Stockman. Hi, dear Normie. Hello. Thank you so much for the like. I appreciate you guys. Great. Slowly people are coming in. Did anybody here in the chat get a notification? Because people keep telling me that YouTube is not sending them notifications, so I want to know. Cody Wampler. How are you, Funga Focus? Okay. So we'll wait just a little bit more so we have a little bit more people on YouTube and X. Welcome to Simulation Talk 355. Ram. Jenny Ann. Edgar, how are you? I know what you see and I know what it is. Wonderful. Feel free to email us about it and we can have a conversation. You can email us to lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Thank you, Edgar. Also, you can come on Discord. You can find the link in the in my link tree right here on TikTok. And you can come on our Discord and you can come on stage now and you can also fill us in if you have something interesting to say. Tiamika. What up, Guru? How are you, brother? YouTube added the other stuff. Just yesterday live stream was one of the best. There one segment I have watched again and again, and every time I have even more questions. Which segment specifically, Maverick Star? Also, thank you for telling me, because if these feel valuable, then please let me know and we'll clip some of those. What up, Nathan and Douglas? How are you, brother? Tia Mika, good to see you. Thank you for the likes, guys. I appreciate it. Wherever you are, wherever you're seeing the stream from, any like, share, subscribe, they all help. The algorithms definitely love them, so highly encourage them. And if you guys want to help our Twitch channel grow, please go to LaserX83 on Twitch and follow from there. LaserX83 on Twitch. What was the stream you did where you guys were talking about the fact we don't know what is going on in someone else's brains, so we can't really compare brains? I mean, it was in a lot of them, so it's hard to say. Blessings, Fungi Focus. Thank you for joining from so many different factors. Nico's in the house. Excellent. How are you, brother?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So Fungi Focus saying,
is the channel growing, or is it? It's been more crowded lately, right?
Yeah, I think it's so it's always growing. I think it's just a flux of how many people listen at the same time. Every once in a while, more and more come. Oh wow, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Tia Mika. Everybody who are liking, much appreciated. X in Discord, but no YouTube notifications. Weird. Yeah, YouTube has been messing. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. I don't know if I'm being weirdly shadow banned because I'm not. A lot of people tell me they don't get the notification even if they turn on the Fungi Focus. Do you have the bell on all notifications for my channel and it's still not giving you a notification? What up, John? I really want to get to the bottom of this. And also I see you shared a link. So what are we doing with the link? And discover the band gospel that says Earth is hell. Highly doubt it. Earth can also be amazing. I think it's whomever this person is seriously underestimating what hell would be. Just got a great deal on your TikTok shop. You love my TikTok shop? What's my TikTok shop? I didn't even know. Thank you, Douglas. I didn't even know I have TikTok shop. But I'm glad you found you found value in it. Jackie's in the house. How are you? Greetings from Nicola Robin and Morgan UK. Welcome, welcome everybody. Where you were talking about the choice to know why for God, would it be okay if I ask some questions regarding it for some clarity? Sure, but I think it would be easier, Maverick Star, if you come on Discord and ask it directly, because reading it from comments, I have to kind of bounce between. And if we're going to have a conversation about it, I think for clarity for everybody, it will be easier if you come on and ask the question directly. Boost the algorithm. Beautiful. Appreciate it. Is that those like keywords? It was actually personalized and not all. Okay, that's what it was. Okay. It gives me notifications every day. It's just my time schedule got changed. And sits perfectly with live stream now. Awesome. I'm glad to hear. Why is it doing this? I do not know. Let's put codeofreality.com is our website. If you guys want to know anything about the laser, that'll be there. And again, just another quick reminder, if you guys want to help our Twitch channel grow, please, please, please go follow LaserX83 on Twitch. It will help. Thank you, Douglas. I appreciate it. Let's see if it actually makes a difference. Thank you. Sounds like you know what you're talking about, so I'll take your word for it. Give the video a chance, please. It's some great ideas you will appreciate. The clickbait title is one thing. Sure. Maybe, maybe not. I actually don't appreciate any idea that kind of talks about negative maybes. If anything, if we are creating our own reality, all it does is it creates negative possibilities. So the opposite of appreciate them. I do not appreciate them. However, I will kind of watch. If you tell me like a particular part of the video where you think there's a particular insight you want me to comment, I would do that. If you ask me, the thing that can potentially make things hell is exactly these kind of ideas. So it is our worst enemy, these kind of ideas, to my mind. Experts explore new mushroom which causes fairy tale like hallucination. That's amazing. That's amazing. I want to know all about this. LF, hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Is my sound okay?
Sounds pretty good, yeah.
Okay, cool. I thought I'd drop in because I had an interesting thought after I watched something. I can't remember the video, who it was with.
Sure.
I was kind of catching up on some various chats, interviews that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a guy you talk about a lot, but I'm really, really terrible with names. And you guys were talking about the problem of comparing people's experiences
Mm-hmm.
because we don't really know what someone else's experience inside their brain is, right?
Correct.
Do you remember that? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this, and what popped into my mind was Fourier transforms. I know you're into your physics,
Sure.
so is this a topic you know about?
Fourier transform. I know what they are. Yeah.
So the reason, so this might be a bit weird or obscure, but the reason I was thinking about this is because when you do transforms, you can do transfer functions, and transfer functions show you the difference between a signal that's gone in and then the device, the medium, whatever the thing that then captured that signal and how it changed the original signal, right?
Showing you the ones that it's made out of.
No, I mean, like, okay, let's say you've got let's say you've got a song, and so it's got different frequencies, and then if you play it on, say, one set of speakers, it will change that signal because of the way those speakers are, like, technically, right? So each set of speakers, the signal that goes in is the same, but the signal that comes out is a little bit different. And the amplifier as well. And as you stack all the devices it goes through, each one has a transfer function.
Got it.
And like the way this signal has changed, and it can be shown in a graph. So I was thinking about this in relation to brains, and I actually Googled. Actually, it wasn't Google, but I did a search, although I didn't read through a ton of stuff yet. But I basically was looking at, are they using transfer functions to look at people's brain activities? So if you compare, like, say you show two people the same thing, and you look at their signals, can you then compare, like, make some comparison? It was just kind of a theoretical thing in my head, so I just thought I'd bring it and wondered what you think of it. And I did find some papers online about neuroscientists started to use transfer functions.
Interesting. That's a really cool idea. I never thought about that. Yeah. So basically, you kind of you find a way. You're talking about basically the delta between the transfer functions as they enter different people's perception, and then we can kind of see, is there some kind of a difference between them? That's an interesting thought. I never thought about that. And this is a technology that is, this is a method that's being utilized on a regular basis.
This is the thing. I didn't go super geek and like read all the things, but I did a quick search and I did find some papers, and some of them you have to pay to read them. So I didn't pay the $35 or whatever. But basically, I did find quite a few hits, not loads, but quite a few hits of people basically talking about that neuroscientists are starting to look at using transfer functions. But I didn't read into the details of like what signals they look at in particular, or how. The problem I can see is, how do you compare it? Because effectively you normally have an original signal. And how do you compare it? Because there isn't an original, because, sorry, I just have to just spilt something, so I've got to clean it. Because if you have like an original image, you can actually quantify that. Or if you have an original signal that's sound, you can quantify it, right, in frequencies and how much of each frequency you have.
Yeah.
The Fourier.
Yeah.
Right? But then if you have brainwaves, and you want to use Fourier, how do you have a start point? But you can make comparisons between them, but you can't have an original, because what's your guideline original, right? That's the problem I can see with it. But anyway, I haven't read through all this stuff, but I thought it was kind of a kooky, interesting way of thinking about it.
I think it's a really interesting way of thinking about it, and I appreciate you sharing that. I can think of possibilities of quote unquote originals. We know, let's say with light, we know what frequency entered the eye, the retina, right? So that would be an original. So that actually speaks directly to some corollary to the qualia. It won't be the qualia, by the way, because it might be related to a lot of other factors we don't understand within perception itself. But so we still won't know if the green is exactly the same green. However, we could potentially say, hey, here's a green frequency. I don't remember what it is. Somebody will correct me. I think it's 540 or whatever. But here's a green frequency that entered the eye. And that's what it looks like pure, quote unquote. And then here's the transform function of this person. Here's the transform function of that person. It looks a little different. Yeah. That's a.
You could do it with you could do it with image. So I like the way you're thinking about it, because you've broken it down to say, if you have a measurable frequency of light, like you've got red at certain nanometers, you've got green at certain nanometers, and you have a bunch of standards that you say, okay, we've got like these 10 colors at these frequencies. So we know that we can quantify that. We show it to whatever number of people, I don't know, 200 people, and we measure their brainwave activity, so they can be compared with each other.
And you know what? And you know what?
The input.
And you know what? You just gave me an idea. If we can establish a baseline, so for example, we can say, here's 200 people that we know the differences in their transform function, and then we look at how they're looking at the code, and then we say, is there anything different beyond the delta that we already observed? So we just show them red light, let's say, and then we say, here's the transform function between these people. And I know the transform function, the difference between the transform functions between, let's say, 3 individuals. And then I say, I know what the distance between each one is. And now when they're looking at the code, is there something else that is different? Is there something else that is different beyond the... Yeah, that's interesting.
That's what I was thinking. If you've got like the transfer functions for their brain activity, then you've got a baseline of like what their brain does ordinarily. You know, looking at, say, I think color is a good point, because it's a visual input that you're looking at, not a sound one. But you could also do it for other things.
Yeah, you can do it for any. You can do it for any input. We actually have a scientist with us here. Nico, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I just linked a paper in the Science Channel, which was published a few days ago, which essentially it's called a Fourier neural operator, which is essentially a way of mapping, because the brain, like you mentioned, all the neurons are playing catch. So all you see from a brain perspective, from a neuron perspective, is a voltage spike. But there's a way of mapping these voltage spikes to something more complex, right? So like one qualia, for instance, would be this insanely complex symphony of signals. But to map it, that transfer function, which is essentially just like a black box function, in this case, it's a neural operator, which is a type of neural network. But the problem is that it's even the most simple thing, right? Like the most simple operation is extremely complex. And so to create a transfer function for an observer, a complete transfer function, essentially would approach the complexity of the brain.
Okay. Why we can't isolate a particular signal and just work with that? Like, let's say we're only looking at the region of the brain that is being influenced by the color red or whatever.
The thing is, I just think like I think the phenomenon of like you know the whole set and setting and state of mind. I think like when it comes to the phenomenology of these experiences, they just capture so much complexity that you can certainly distill it down into like an optical system, like a very simple like system. But as far as getting to like a combination of qualia to make up an experience, I think it's just infinitely complex.
Yeah, it's really complex, but I think the interesting thing is if you have the transfer function, like Danny was suggesting, say, looking at somebody just observing the color red, you have got a way to compare between different people's brains, that's like what the output is in their brain signals. Like
It would.
A way to compare. That's
So
the only thing I can
so
think.
what?
But obviously, yeah, it's infinitely cool.
Yeah. So what I hear Nico saying is essentially it would depend on the exact details of how they're doing it. So I have to read a little bit more about it because Nico will correct me if I got it wrong, but I think what he's saying is that it might be different, but it might be different along many different parameters at once. So it's hard to know. It's hard to know. You can't assign a number to it because it's different in many different.
To know what's affecting what.
Yeah, there's just too much.
situation.
However, I would say, wouldn't you say, Nico, that if you collect actual data like that from 200 people, and even 200 is not even that big of a number, but let's say, can't you find a pattern in by which you can kind of like something stable that is changing between?
I think that's what Neuralink is doing, right? Like they're implanting hundreds to thousands of electrodes and essentially mapping human actions, specifically in the motor cortex, because they're trying to help paralyzed people. And then they essentially say, okay, like on average, this is the waveform of the transfer function.
Okay.
And then you have to learn how to create that waveform in your mind to then fine tune the plant to like move your arm or like stuff like that. Like, so there definitely is like an average signal, and then everyone is kind of slightly different. And I think like, you know, even though Neuralink will give people the ability to walk again and run again, I think the difference between like Steph Curry playing basketball and like, you know, will we ever get to that point, right, where you can learn Kung Fu by just uploading your firmware? Like that's something that I think is really interesting.
Bring him to play.
I'm a bit excited. Can I ask? So you saw the fact that they are using transfer functions for Neuralink specifically? So I haven't read all this stuff. It was just
Yeah. So, are you an engineer? Because transfer function is a very engineering term, but all it means is a black box.
Yeah. So basically, like the other day when we were talking about stuff in the chat, and then he was talking about color, and I posted some things. So, like a degree I did years ago that is quite a rare one. There's only a couple of places that teach it in the world, and that was like my first degree. And it is in photographic optics and electronic imaging. So it included everything like color science, optics, and also basically ways that information is captured for imaging and ways that it's processed digitally and a whole gamut of different things. It's a really big part of it because it's the fundamental way to treat frequencies, whether it's optical or visual or sound, it doesn't matter, they're just waves, but it's the foundation of all that.
Yeah, so the function comes from controller theory, which essentially is like you have a black box. So you have some phenomenon you want to measure, and it's supposed to be very complex because you can't just write an equation for it. So you have this black box, and you know the inputs and you know the outputs. And so what you do inside the black box is you write a series of functions, or you find functions that map the input to the output. And so for like a very simple situation, it could be linear. It could be like, you know, you put in something into the transfer function and it just multiplies it by 2, and then the output is mapped. So that's a very, very simple transfer function. Or it could be something extremely complex, like, you know,
it doesn't matter how complex it is. It just, the transfer function it's like translates it. What happens in between?
Yeah, but it does a space transformation. So what it does is it takes a complex kind of state space, and then what happens is it transforms it into a linear system. So like it typically gives you very linear equations that are solvable, and then it transforms back into our space and gives you a real output that is measurable. So like even your water kettle uses this. Like it has a PID controller that's a transfer function which tells it how to get to a set temperature, and it's essentially measuring temperature and inputting current into the heater. But these are everywhere. The problem is that when you get to a system,
I work just purely with frequencies and signals. So, but you can apply Fourier in that way to anything, like you said.
Well, the problem is when you get to a large enough state space, meaning there's too many degrees of freedom, then your transfer function requires a much higher complexity, and the state space involved to collapse it to some very simple, solvable set of equations becomes very difficult, right? So like this is all like quantum mechanics is an example of like you can do these state space transformations, but the problem is the problem is not really easily solvable. But one thing like Shor's algorithm, right? Like we can essentially use a quantum computer to quickly solve Shor's algorithm and then kind of output a meaningful number out. And so like the problem is finding how to do that. And as far as the brain goes, I think you need a brain to like map the transfer function for a brain.
But what about what she's mentioning about people already?
What I said at the beginning. Sorry, Devin.
No. So that's my question. So like, what about what they are doing? If you know anything about it, like it does say yes, transfer functions are used in neuroscience to study people's brains. Cosmo, place. Come. Cosmo, place. Sorry about that. We have to train him down. Oh boy, too much energy. They do use it in the what? So they.
Sorry, I was just what the other person's name. I was just wondering where he posted it in the chat.
Oh,
Posted that.
Nico, where did you post it?
It's a science channel on Discord.
Where we are now. Yeah, so what it says here, at least just a quick search, it says, yes, transfer functions are used in neuroscience to study people's brains, particularly for analyzing brain dynamics, connectivity, and how different types of signals relate to each other. But it doesn't say anything here about comparing between people. Maybe that is actually, there's way too many degrees of freedom. But that would depend on this. I do feel like there's maybe something here that can be done. And also a question to you, Nico. You said that it's very difficult to solve. But is it impossible to solve?
Well, the thing is, I was actually talking to ChatGPT about this yesterday because I'm training a neural network right now, and I realized that a neural network, I had this like eureka moment, or I thought it was a eureka moment, where I'm like, oh, a neural network is just a nonlinear regression, right? Meaning that it's able to map two things that are nonlinear in a very clean way.
Mm-hmm.
But ChatGPT was like, it's far more complex than that. But what it's essentially doing, a neural network is able to take an input and you give it an output, and it's able to like really map the internal mechanism that is connecting those things in a way that is kind of like computationally irreducible. So the thing is, like, transfer functions are traditionally very you have like polynomials or fractions of polynomials, or like very clear, very like clean equations. And so when you start needing a neural network in the transfer function, you're essentially saying like, I need a brain to train the inputs to outputs of this system. So like what you could do is essentially measure someone's brain activity, like the inputs and the outputs, but you kind of need a brain to map those things together because of how complex the process is.
So
that's why I think biological computing is like a really interesting area where we start growing neurons and just building artificial brains as analog computers, right? But I don't know what the ethics are of doing that, but they're far more efficient, than silicon-based computers. And you can essentially like clone brains essentially, or kind of like wire a brain to replicate your signals.
And it would be interesting to see if in the future, maybe Neuralink would give people almost like information that they can analyze as themselves because they have a brain. Maybe like we can just literally run it on somebody's experience, so to speak. It's like somebody's experience is the computable substrate, so to speak, on top of which you running the computation. That would be interesting to see. If you can run external computations on your.
I found another paper. It sort of looked like maybe the most relevant thing that I found. But there's just an interesting little bit where they say by transforming EEG or LSP signals into the frequency domain, researchers can identify specific frequency bands associated with different cognitive processes or brain states. So that's why I was kind of thinking about it, because
This
that
does.
was what your conversation seemed to be about. Like, how can you compare what the kind of what's going on in someone's head to someone else's head? How can we know that one person says is like this is the same as what another person is saying? So I think of it as a really simple thing. It's just a way to have something to compare, because otherwise, what do we really have?
Yeah, no, it's definitely better. It's definitely better than nothing. If we can compare these, it's definitely better than nothing. But it doesn't. It of course doesn't solve the problem of is the qualia the same, because the qualia might be different for some other reason that we don't understand, and that's the hard problem of consciousness. It doesn't collapse it. But you're right that if we can actually, like what you just said, sounds super relevant. If they actually do that, then yeah, if you can identify the particular signal that the brain is identifying from the entire EEG read. But then again, isn't EEG already doing that automatically? Because when you look at EEG scans, they have a bunch of waves right above another. Like it shows you a bunch of them. So it doesn't give you one, it gives you all of them kind of like. So I feel like the Fourier transform is already happening in real time, basically. They're kind of like breaking it down.
Exactly, but I'm agreeing with you in a way that that's what I was thinking at the beginning. You don't have a baseline to compare it to. Whereas, for example, if you're looking at comparing an image, you've got the real image, and then you can compare the output, say when it's gone through a lens or when it's gone through whatever it is, glasses or lenses, or it's been printed onto paper. Each time it's gone through a process, there's a transfer function because the signal has been changed fundamentally.
It's definitely
the technology that it's gone through, which in our case is our brains, right?
It's definitely worth a shot. Like it's definitely worth trying to do that. Yeah.
I am thinking of one thing, but this was years ago, and we did some studies.
What up, Brandon?
At how people process things visually, and trying to see like how many bits are relevant. So this had the same problem where you don't have a baseline to compare it to, because you're just looking at how people experience things differently and they're biological. You don't have like, oh, this is the baseline biological version that we compare everyone to. We can't do that, right? Because we're all different. But what we did was we compared each thing side by side, and we went through many, many different processes, comparing them side by side.
Yeah.
So they were evaluated against each other as opposed to against, a base version.
Yeah, again, I agree with that. It's worth trying, and the more we're going to be moving into the more technical. The what? The what?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
It's the only way I can think of that having any use, that you can compare it in some way. So comparing lots of signals side by side.
Yeah.
You'd have to have I can't remember the mathematics. I've got it somewhere.
Can you share this paper? Can you share this paper in Science and also here in the chat yeah. Okay. No, I mean from what you just said, it sounds already relevant. Couple of things. Yes, all colors would work. Somebody asked this on TikTok, so just wanted to make sure. And if you guys want to see all of this and or want to join our Discord community, you can find the link in my link tree on TikTok. And now the link works. Woohoo! And on the main page on YouTube. Third link from the top. If you go to the main page, you will find it. And how are you, Brandon? Good to see you. And if you guys want to follow our Twitch and help our Twitch channel grow, go to LaserX83 on Twitch. LaserX83 on Twitch, and go follow from there. Let me see. Oh, I thought you would post it. Yeah, post it, please. I would love to read this paper. This would be very useful. And also, John shared a cool thing before. It says Between traditional folklore and modern biology, the wild forest floor and the sterile scientific laboratory lies the story of Lilliputian mushrooms that are basically producing some kind of a magical kingdom kind of experience. Even though I would say that certain mushrooms already are doing that, but that would be interesting to know what this is all about. I'll read this. It sounds interesting. Okay, cool. And Ghost, how are you, brother? I think Ghost is. Oi. Okay. Why instead of Brendan Kraft? Yeah, we saw that. And have I ever thought if the God chooses to not know the answer to why, or what would happen? Does everything goes as on as now? And the God that we're talking about is that the lady on top. I don't know. I don't want to pretend like I know any of this. I have no idea. Like I said, I should probably sharpen my thoughts around this. Maybe I need another visit into the realm and ask for relevance. Carter, how are you, brother? Saying what makes those Lilliputian mushrooms interesting is that they didn't get you high in any other way, just little people. Oh, interesting. Okay, I did not realize this. Thank you for letting me know. Kevin is in the house. Kevin from the extended state in Colorado, which, by the way, if you guys ever want to do the address with Haley together, they're amazing, and you guys should reach out and let me know, and I'll connect you guys. If you ever want to do full extended state with everybody, actually, you can. I think you did 3 people at a time now, Kevin. Right? I think you told me. Dream Mind is the name of their organization. But again, if you guys want, you can just reach out and I'll connect you guys directly. Oh, I see. LF just jumped off. I just sent you an invite because I thought you were thrown out. But it's okay if you don't want to come back up for now. It's okay, or you can come back up, of course. Okay, so today I'm actually going to keep it pretty short because my dogs are going nuts and I got to go take them for a walk. So if you just you would like to be connected, Drew, so email me about so if you interested in either extended state or our retreat, 2 separate things though. Our retreat is going to be on February 28th and it's going to be in Costa Rica. And if you're interested in extended state in Colorado, 2 different things, but in either one of those, make sure you email me to dangoprox@gmail.com, dangoprox@gmail.com. Did you get that? dangoprox@gmail.com. Just email me there and I'll connect you. But only about these 2 topics, because this email is usually related to like business related stuff. Everything else, theories, all that good stuff, lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Prox, Prox. Dango Prox. So not PROS, exactly, @gmail.com. Perfect. Thank you. It's just that it doesn't do hyperlinks here anyway. So, wow, great people today. So good to see you here, Carter. Okay, so aside from the retreat, the extended state, if you guys still want to donate to the efforts of the final steps of the production of the film, The Discovery, go to the link under this live right now. Second link from the top, so link number 2. It's the trailer called The Discovery on the channel Dango Thoughts on YouTube. First of all, subscribe, share, and like, of course. I know I have to say it every time, but it definitely helps the channel. And in this link, which is the trailer for the film called The Discovery, you can find the GoFundMe page where you can donate for the film. If you donate over $1,000, you will automatically be put on a list of people who would see the movie as a world premiere with Q&A with us. You're going to be the first one in the world to see this film, basically, from the public. So I think it's pretty cool. What else? If you guys want to follow me across platforms, it's Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It's Goller Danny. Just swap them on X. It's LaserX83 on Twitch and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. You can also follow my new show on Spotify called 0 to 1 with Danny Goller, From Earthbound Minds to Cosmic Citizens, which has to do with the future of humanity. come join the membership program on YouTube on Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, which gives you early access to all my content, gives you access to my weekly lives for members only, which are a lot of fun. We dive much deeper into all kinds of topics. And if you join from the second tier upwards, make sure you email me to the email listed there so I can send you the invite for a monthly Zoom call. And grab yourself some merch on YouTube. It will be it helps the channel tremendously, and really cool merch, really good quality. We have the Code of Reality designs, and we have the Human First designs. Human First denotes the attitude that we should treat each other as humans first before any political affiliation, conviction you might have about the world, or any religious ideas you might have. We should treat each other as humans first, ourselves and the world, of course. If you want to know stuff about the laser, you want to run the experiment, want to find out more, you can go to codeofreality.com, codeofreality.com. It's all the stuff about the lasers and the protocol and everything else. And if you want to share your experiment after doing it, or see other people's experiments and their shares, you can go to veilbreak.ai. I'll put it right here. Veilbreak.ai, where you can do this. Thank you. Huge thank you to our software engineer, Carmelo and Carter, for spearing the way and making this happen. This makes things a lot easier for everybody. Again, reminding you guys, if you want to join Discord, find the links on YouTube and on TikTok in the link tree, and come join our incredible community of like-minded people doing this. And did I mention, everything else? We do have a few more spots. So again, trying to fill it up as quickly as possible. So if you are interested in the retreat, make sure you email me to dangoprox@gmail.com, and we'll have a conversation about it. That is all, I believe. Yeah. There's so many announcements at this point. It just becomes overbearing to just announce all of them. I want to acknowledge our incredible moderator, Guru. Brother, we really appreciate you. Always here. Super loyal. Oh, yeah. And follow DreamMind on X. Just DreamMind. One word. That's Kevin and Haley's company that does the extended state. But again, if you reach out, I'll just connect you directly. What else? Guru, thank you, brother. Our incredible moderator, Guru, who's always there. Always, without him, this is very difficult to do. Thank you for all of our guests. I appreciate ALF for coming and having the conversation. I appreciate the idea. We're actually going to think about it. Please share the paper. Gary, Ghost, appreciate you, brother. Nico, love you, brother. Thank you for always being here, being who you are. Carter, my partner in Code of Reality. Without him, most of this technical stuff would just simply not happen. So I appreciate you. And the director of the film, Aaron Venden, who's an absolute master of his craft. You guys, the second you're going to see the film, you're going to love Aaron so much because he is amazing at what he does. And our incredible producer, Chris Paris, who also edits on this film. They're both, original gangsters in that domain, and they're amazing at what they do. And thank you, the audience, for always coming, supporting, asking questions, liking, promoting, sharing, debating, not always agreeing. It's wonderful. I love it. So thank you so much for everybody. If you're a new listener, an old listener, truly, truly appreciate you, because without you, there's no channel. So you know who you are. Maverick Star, Brandon, Kevin, of course, everybody who's here. I can't name everybody because there's a lot of people in the chat, but I really, really appreciate the viewers everywhere. TikTok, X, YouTube, Twitch, LaserX83 on Twitch. Thank you, guys. See you tomorrow. Peace and love. Good night. Ciao. Have a good night, everybody.